Hey guys, what's going on? Kalamazi here, and today we're going to be taking another look at a Demonology run in MYTHIC+. This time we're taking a look at a level 4 Underrot with the Tyrannical and Bursting affixes. Our group comp is myself as Demonology at 336 item level, a Destruction Warlock at 338, and an Unholy DK at 337 item level. I did a swap back to the older Demonology build that I was running in MYTHIC+, mainly swapping back to From the Shadows from Soul Strike, as I wanted to see how our shard generation felt without it, and the difference in both Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt's damage overall. Now before we jump too far into the run, I wanted to mention there's just under 2 weeks left on my 30 Days of WoW Game Time giveaway. If you want to know more about that, check the link in the description below. I was actually able to pull the damage breakdown for each boss from Warcraft logs in this run, so we'll actually be able to take a close look at each and every boss. Let me know what you guys think of this run and the build in the comments below as well. Elder Lysana is the first boss, and there's a small bit of movement present with some 2-target cleave that's going to benefit both the DK and especially the Destruction Warlock a good bit more than us as Demonology. We finished third here overall, and we're a good bit behind on damage as well. I think a bit of this can be attributed to them pulling the boss a bit before we were actually in the room, but this fight really displays how powerful both Destruction and Unholy is with 2-target cleave and Bloodlust. The breakdown here shows that our pet's melee was our second highest damage contributor, followed by Shadow Bolt, Legion Strike, and then Hand of Gul'dan. A bit of both Legion Strike and Hand of Gul'dan's damage was cleave and splash damage, however, due to the ad spawning, which is part of the reason as to why they're a bit higher than normal.
Summon me.
The second boss is Cragmore the Infested, and he's a single target fight mostly, as long as your group does the mechanics correctly. When he spawns the small blood ticks, it's very important for every member of your group to walk over the ones near them, as doing so kills them. If you do not, they become adds after a certain point in time that must be AoE down quickly before more spawn. The breakdown here shows Demon Bolt as our second highest source of damage outside of Fellfire Bolt, followed by our Pet's Melee and then Hand of Gul'dan and Shadow Bolt. There was a tiny bit of cleave on the ads near the end of the fight, but I don't really believe very much of Hand of Gul'dan's contribution percentage-wise was affected by it. While we did have a good bit of Molten Core procs for instant cast Shadow Bolts here, or Demon Bolts, I'm sorry, it's still a good bit higher contribution-wise than it was in our previous Azar run, and I do contribute a good bit of that to having From the Shadows as a talent instead of Soul Strike.
What manner of creature is this?
Sporecaller Zancha is a third boss, and it's a single target fight with a bit of mechanic dodging present throughout the encounter. Dodging the orbs that spawn is important as they place a stacking dot on you if you do actually come in contact with them. If you're targeted by the upheaval ability, you need to get away from the group as you spawn a patch of damage under your feet that you only have a few seconds to move out of before it actually erupts.
and bloom.
The damage here is pretty similar to the previous boss as well. Demon Bolt provided a good bit of our overall damage at roughly 14.5%, followed by our pet's melee at 14%, and then actually Demon Fire from our Demonic Tyrant, and finally Shadow Bolt. You might notice the hand cooldown is a bit lower here than previous bosses, however, and we can attribute a bit of that to the extra movement on this boss, as well as there not being any adds present near the very end of the fight like there were on Cragmore.
Massive breach detected. Containment failing. Mother not responding. Summon me. Planetary infection imminent. specimen detected. Containment priority 1. Engaging final safeguard. Destroy virulent source.
The Unbound Abomination is the final boss. He's a bit different than most bosses we are used to fighting. He does not take damage directly from players, instead his energy actually increases when he's dealt damage, and at 100 energy he spawns 2 blood adds that have to be killed. Whenever they're actually killed, they deal a good bit of damage to the boss, around 10% or so. There are also spores that need to be killed during the fight that drop green pools from the floor that need to be avoided at all costs. Now these spores really only have 3 or so health, so really any ability will actually kill them, but being overrun is still a very real threat the longer the fight actually goes on. Now sadly, a fight like this is going to be much better for both the Destruction Warlock and the Death Knight than it will be for us, with so much target swapping, burst damage, and movement required.
Purge protocols engaged. Purge protocols engaged. Cleansing area.
Now with such a high amount of movement and target swapping required here, I knew that our pet's melee would be our main source of damage outside of our Imp's Firebolt, and if you look closely, the melee contribution percentage is very close to our Imp's contribution percentage as well. You do also need to factor in that Implosion is used a good bit on the fight, so that plays a role in the Firebolt damage being a good bit lower than normal as well. We also see Demon Fire, Dreadbolt, and Dreadbite being pretty close to one another below our pet's melee contribution. I will admit that I did not have very high expectations heading into this last encounter as Demonology, as it just does not have a very good toolkit for the fight. Having a whole lot of movement, lots of target swapping, and also a good bit of required burst are all things the Demo does not excel at, sadly. Taking a look at the overall damage breakdown for the dungeon, we do see that Fel Firebolt is our main source of damage by a good bit, followed by our pet's melee and then Legion Strike. Hand of Gul'dan is close behind Legion Strike, which is followed by Demon Bolt and then actually Implosion. In previous runs before the Demonology nerf, we have seen Implosion being much higher contribution-wise than it was here, but sadly its damage nerf is pretty high. Now, if you've been playing with the pre-nerf Implosion versions, you knew a nerf was coming, but I do think that the nerf it got here might have been a bit too much for how much it actually sets us back pet and resource-wise once it's actually used. I also need to mention or make note of both Hand of Gul'dan and Demon Bolt's overall damage here. Demon Bolt is significantly higher than it was in Untitled Chapter when we had Soul Strike, and Hand of Gul'dan is a bit higher as well. We contribute a good bit of this to running with the From the Shadows talent instead of Soul Strike for this run. I'm going to do a bit more testing of both of them, but at this point I really prefer From the Shadows over Soul Strike. I do feel that Shadow Bolt's damage might be a tad too low in its current state as well, which is another area that I think could be addressed in future tuning passes addressing Demonology. I feel that while the spec still feels very smooth overall, the damage is just a bit too low, especially with single target being one of the strong suits of the spec. Now there are certain fights with multiple adds that Destruction should be better on due to their toolkit and the use of Havoc, but I feel with Demonology having a more single target toolkit, we should excel a good bit more on single target fights than we actually do, so hopefully that's addressed in future builds. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember that if you want to enter my 30 Days of WoW Game Time giveaway, I'll have a link to that in the description below. Overall, I thought it was a pretty smooth run through the Underrot, but I think it really did a good job of displaying a lot of Demonology's weak points and areas that actually need to be addressed. I don't think that Destruction and other specs are too strong. I think it's more so that Demonology needs our tuning pass to bring it in line with the other specs. Let me know what you guys thought of this run and the build in the comments below. And if you want to see more WoW and BFA content, remember to smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons, as your support really helps. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see y'all pretty soon in Battle for Azeroth. Peace.